The following podcast is a W2M Network original production. Visit W2Mnet.com for all of our other great podcasts, plus news, reviews, articles, and opinions from the worlds of wrestling, video games, football, and entertainment.
Hello and welcome to another Video Games to the Max, as this is the official video games podcast of W2Mnet.com, and we are of course also a partnership with 41mania.com and Last Word on Life, and this is episode 179, and I'm your host Sean Garmer, and here with me as always Mr. Marc Morrison.
Howdy.
You might have heard some noises there of Mark
entering in a friend code.
Yeah, entering a friend code. He just got Zelda a couple days ago, so he's finally getting into what everybody was talking about last year.
No, I'm still trying to work through my review backlog.
That too. Lots of review backlog for everybody at this point, as we outlined last week, and I don't think Mark's even getting into games from last week, of just it's getting real now. We're getting into, there are games coming out constantly. Not that there isn't all the time, but it felt like last week you just got a ton, and then this week, not big on the heavy, like, known names, but you got a few. So we'll get into that a little later. We did play one that is coming out basically today. You can preload it and download it as soon as this podcast is like halfway through, because this is like basically the 20th right now on the US over here on the East Coast. We played a little bit of the Metal Gear Survive beta again, and redid that first mission that you get to do, and then played a little bit of the one on medium. Definitely gets harder.
Yeah. We were probably under-geared a little, and it's just, like, it kept giving us stuff to collect, but it didn't tell us how to use it all. Mm-hmm. So, you were guarding the base, and I was running around getting shit, but it didn't, like, it's like, okay, you collected this machine gun, but it didn't tell me how to use it or deploy it at all, so it's like, alright.
Yeah, it definitely makes you have to be very aware of your surroundings, because the zombies or whatever the creatures are come out of nowhere sometimes. Well, they literally do come out of nowhere because they come out of the sky.
Yeah, they come into the wormhole generator things that were in MGS5.
Okay, that's what that is. And, like, both levels that we were in have a section that cannot be blocked off at all. And they'll come through there, and sometimes you won't even notice. And yeah, you'll just kind of look over and, oh, wow, these are right in my face. And then on normal, you can imagine that gets even more troublesome, especially because they vary the enemies and stuff like that. So yeah, the more people you have, the better, because obviously you can defend more parts of the base as well. So.
Yeah, as long as it doesn't scale up the number of zombies also. Like, if you have 4 people, you have 4 times the zombies. It's like, okay, great.
Yeah, maybe on, we only played with Sean Comer on easy, so I don't know if it keeps it the same there, and then when you level it up, that's when they level up, they move the zombies up to compensate, but I think for a game that I don't normally play games like that, I still think it's pretty fun. Like, I imagine if you could get the concepts down, and perhaps the single player does a much better job at explaining that than the multiplayer does, then, if we were really good at it, then we'd have a lot more fun.
Yeah. Probably would have helped.
Yeah.
Or just like learning the controls better. Like it just jumps you in that Matrix loading program and doesn't explain how to do anything.
And then also the like having to figure out which triggers to press, to having to remember like what's on your R1 and then what's remember on your L1, and the also having to trigger through switch through all the weapons and everything. It's a lot to deal with when you got creatures coming at you and you're trying to kill them, you know. Uh,
Yeah.
so what else are your Monster Hunter review is up, so you don't have to play that for review anymore now. You can go back and play whatever whenever you want.
Yeah, I'll probably slowly go through that. I have like a few friends who are playing it off and on, so I'll just trying up with them. Still plowing through Battle Chef Brigade. I have to review that this week because it's pretty behind. Even though they sent the code like 4 weeks ago and the game was out in December.
Not your fault at all.
Yeah. It's still a good game. Like I'm just trying to compare it to other games or figure out what I should kind of compare it to, because it's like two halves of completely different halves of one game. Like there's the match 3 gameplay, and then there's like the action brawler stuff.
Does it work well?
Yeah. It's like a charming game. It's still fun. Like I'd be curious to actually play it on the Switch, because I imagine that'd be a lot more fun than on PC.
I've thought about that because I remember the Giant Bomb guys talking a lot about it.
Yeah, like the game's also pretty cool. Like the levels aren't long at all. Like the longest level I've had is 12 minutes,
Oh, that's not bad at all.
and there's also like a lot of little side missions that are like 2 or 3 minutes each. Like they're not, like go do this puzzle, and that's it for the side mission. Like it's not long at
So is
all.
there like a map or something to go to all that, or?
There's like a town street. It's not a very big game at all. Like it's just like this one street, and then you kind of load off that. Like there are 3 side missions. Like every day you get different side missions, and you can do all 3, and it's puzzle, hunting, and like a restaurant. And the restaurant is like do specific combinations for people, and you'll get rewarded quickly. Like it's all about speed.
Okay, well, I mean, it seems like a fun game. Just
Yeah. The other game is like you said, Zelda.
so coming into this like after all the hoopla and everything, and it's been almost a year now since it came out. Like, how do you feel about being a first-time player into this?
I have 2 thoughts. The first thought is I kind of want to spend the $20 to get that motorcycle DLC.
Yeah.
Just because I think it'd be really silly.
Plus, it would make going around that huge world a lot easier.
Don't you get horses, or do you get Epona?
Yeah, you do get the, you do get Epona and all that. So, but it takes a little bit to get Epona. So,
I imagine it'd be the same thing with a motorcycle. Like you're not just gonna buy it and it's show up in your inventory. The other 2 thoughts I have are, I find the controls very unwieldy. That maybe that's just me, but like having different buttons for run and jump, like I understand why they did that, but having jump be on essentially the X button of the Switch controller seems very not bad, but just weird.
yeah, especially like for me, it was just mainly having to get used to the whole when you switch controllers, the A and B are switched for the Nintendo console compared to the other ones, so you're having to get used to that. And then jump seems weird when you think it should be on like Y.
Yeah, and it's instead of your attack button. And like I was telling you before we started, like the game just drops you into it. Like I completed the first, like I guess initial dungeon or like puzzle training thing. I got the magnet power, and then the old guy was like, okay, here's this tower, get on top of it, or just like beam over there and scan around the environment to find the other tower and to find the other dungeons. And I did that for 20 minutes and I found nothing. And I was like, am I being dumb, or is it like the game just kind of screwing with me, or what?
No, you're not being dumb. The game is very obtuse like that. Like, and then you're also setting your own markers, right? So if you set the marker in the wrong spot, then you're not going to anything.
Yeah, I did
So
that because I didn't know what I was looking for. I was just like, whatever. I was place markers on what I think is cool looking stuff, and like one was like a purple treasure chest that I had to fight some enemies over and it like unlocked, and like one was I just kind of roamed around, and then I eventually found another one of the trial dungeons, and I got the bomb power, and it's like, okay, like am I just supposed to hunt around this like plateau for a while and until I find the other two places?
yeah, like for me, because initially I was thinking I was gonna have to review it because I was the only one with a Switch at the time. I bought a guide because it's like I cannot. Like I love just walking around and finding stuff and finding different enemies and whatever. That's like when the game is actually at its best to me, is when you can just roam around. You can literally go to anything you want. You can climb on top of the mountain if you want, whatever. But like if you need to know where you're going so that you can get on with it, it's not a game for you to like get on with it unless you know where you're going. So uh,
Well,
I feel like a lot of that game is trial and error.
I think after I get the 4 initial powers and I get off, like I get the paraglider thing and can, just freely explore, then I'll have a lot more fun with it. Then the game will just open up and you can do whatever shrine you want. But, like format wise, the game really reminds me of Far Cry, like Far Cry 3 or 4.
Yeah, with
Like
the
even like just this like small area, but yeah, like just the freedom to do whatever you want, like picking up everything, stealing everything and get your hands on.
the shrines kind of could be like the towers,
Yeah,
kind of thing.
well,
Yeah.
I think the shrines, I guess would be like the encampments, and like the actual towers would be like the radio towers. Like even when the tower sprouted from the ground, I was like, all right, am I gonna have to climb this stupid fucking thing and hit the button and the map will be revealed? But it's like, no, because there's no map to be revealed. You just climb and do it yourself.
Right. Well,
But yeah, I'll keep playing it. I just have to get through. I have to write the Brigade review like soon, and then I have to start playing Fee, which might be an experience.
hey, I'll be interested to hear your thoughts on Faye there, because it seems like it's gotten a mixed reaction so far.
I think people were probably expecting like an Ori and the Blind Forest,
Mm-hmm.
and it's not that, and it's disappointing people.
Sounds kind of like the Secret of Mana remake. Why that's
Yeah.
getting such a mixed reaction. It's like if you've never played it, it's fine. If you played it,
I'm sure if you played it, I'm sure if you haven't played it, it's probably a little archaic. But if you have played it before, you're like, why did they fuck this up?
or you forget that the game had problems. It's not like that game was perfect at all. It's just like back then when you're that age, you're like, oh, this is so cool. It's not the same as like the Final Fantasies and all that. So you're like, oh, time to play this thing.
Think about what you just said, and in 2 or 3 years, when that first episode of Final Fantasy VII remake comes around, can be saying the same thing.
Oh God. At least they let us know they were going to cut stuff from that. So, and we already know they changed the battle system a little bit. So, they are not sitting there telling you to have these goggle expectations on it. I think people are going to be more mad because of the stuff they changed. And I feel like Square Enix said that they probably felt like, okay, we want people to tell us that they want more Secret of Mana. So if we change too much of this, there's going to be more people mad than if we just leave it alone.
Right.
All right.
They can't just make a new one. So.
Yeah, that's true. For me, I'm still playing the couple of games I was playing like last week when we did the show. I finally actually beat Night in the Woods. Still got to finish writing the review, but I actually got to the end. I never got to the end on the PS4 version. Played some on the Switch, and then went back to the PS4 version because I was farther on that one. And yeah, it gets crazy at the end. They try to add in this different kind of story, but it's probably still one of my favorite cast of characters in all of gaming. I don't know how many cast of characters I'm including in that, but still, like, just a great cast, very well written. Just no, the story has its moments. It has its moments where it's great, and then has moments where it's not. And I find it hard for anybody not to have something that they relate to with that game. And it's great on Switch because you can take it with you, put it on pause, and then keep going. It's a great game to like play on, yeah, if you're on the bus or whatever, and then you can play a little bit, get some of the story, and get off. Yeah, Radiant Historia is still the same thing. I'm just still trudging through that. And Crossing Souls has been the game that I kind of play when the wrestling podcast is on. So it's I love I wish I could anybody like really loves the 80s. Like they have these like really cool like 80s videos that they show with like no sound that are like awesome, and just has so much nostalgia in it, but it's also like just a good little beat 'em up uh, that's also sort of like a point and click, but not. So, and I like that it has all the different characters. I mean, yeah, it plays a lot on 80s stereotypes. So, if you're one of those people, like I've seen a lot of, not just today, but this entire week, or more, it seems like this entire year has been the year of everybody complaining about they need more representation in games and media and all that stuff. That's probably going to bother you if you're one of those people, because they just said, we're going to make this an 80s game. It's going to have all the 80s stuff you can imagine, and including the stereotypes and all that stuff in it. So just be prepared. But it's still got it like one of those like cool, cheesy 80s stories too. So definitely hoping I can, within the next week, have that thing done. And perhaps Sword Art Online Fatal Bullet will appear, and I can start playing that. But which I'm not gonna I'm holding my breath that it's perhaps better than the other Sword Art games, but that's not saying anything. But that also goes along with the new anime that's coming that also focuses on them having guns and not swords and stuff. So we'll see how that goes.
Yeah.
But all right, there's not a lot of news this week, but I guess we might as well start here because there's still a lot in the news about the terrible school shooting that happened not that far away from me in Broward. And of course, everybody has their thoughts on what needs to be done and whatever. And, we're not going to make that a gun violence conversation here because this is not the podcast for that. This is a video games podcast, and of course, when this stuff kind of happens, you have the one person or two people that decide that they need to blame video games because why not? So Kentucky Govenor Matt Bevin discussed other things involving what happened, but he also decides that video games used to be one of the things that is a problem. So there are video games that, yes, are listed for mature audiences, but kids play them, and everybody knows it, and there's nothing to prevent a child from playing them. They celebrate slaughtering of people. There are games that literally replicate and give people the ability to score points for doing the very same thing that these students are doing inside of schools, where you get extra points for finishing someone off who's lying there begging for their life. why does there need to be a game where you kill someone? Is sort of his final statement on the whole thing. I kind of blanked over some of the other stuff, but he also mentions like, why does there need to be any kind of media where someone dies or you kill someone or whatever? And I guess that's his sort of thought process on video games create a death culture, and it celebrates that.
As opposed to the NRA.
Hold on, you are really low. Like it sounds like your microphone is not.
Is that better?
Yes, that is better. So what you say? Sorry, I didn't hear you.
I said, yes, a death culture as opposed to the NRA.
True. Sure, not everybody in the NRA is going out trying to hunt things, but yeah. I just think it's just him trying. He's grasping at straws here because this is a lot easier to talk about than the other stuff that seems to never go one way or the other, right? It's the same people that are focusing on let's change game ratings to reflect loot boxes because we have nothing else better going on that we need to focus on right now.
Well,
yeah, go ahead.
I think loot boxes are like a predatory act, or
Right.
not all. Like Overwatch is fine to an extent, but I mean like what EA did with like Battlefront 2, that was bad.
Right.
But I think like the knee-jerk reaction of like, oh, video games are violent, that's dumb because they've already been constitutionally rendered okay, like as a fine art form, and B, like they've been killing people in movies since movies have been around. There are songs about killing people.
TV
There's
shows.
art, books. I mean, look,
that's
like,
part of art is dying.
Like, if you want to like look at like a violent piece of literature, look at the Bible.
Right. It's like the biggest way to show loss is for somebody to die. Right? In whatever media form that you're talking about here. So, I mean, now we're going to. That's a very real part of life, whether we want to say that it's creating this culture or not. We all die. We all have to go through the pain of death. We don't want it to be in these awful situations that have happened. But, I mean, people still talk about the whole Aerith dying in Final Fantasy VII. I'm sorry if I just spoiled that for somebody.
Don't worry, she's going to come back with a loot box.
Thank God Square Enix has decided that they're not doing that, but I wouldn't put it past them to figure that out that one day and do put it in. But I just think this is so. I hate the fact that we had to go to this. I thought we were past this point. Look, we can make this case all day long that parents walk into a video game store, a GameStop, Best Buy, whatever, they don't care. They buy the mature rated game for their kid because their kid wants it. They don't think anything of it. They let their kid play it and whatever. Does
Also,
that cause
most games that most of the things he was talking about aren't actually in video games.
Right, exactly. They're not.
I mean, he's just pulling stuff out of his ass, like he always does.
It's just like, look, yeah, we have a problem in the country. There's a mental illness problem. There is you can say there is a moral compass problem in a way, but it's not because of video games. It's because of other things, and it's just I just hate that. Like, let's just blame this because it's easier than to talk about the real issues and to talk about how we need to have a bigger way to solve mental health problems and whatever else in the country. And You know?
Another good question is how come other countries with violent video games don't have this problem? Like, why doesn't Japan have this? Why doesn't Germany have this? Why doesn't England have this? Could it be that they don't have? Could it be the violent video games, or the fact that they don't have AR-15s available to them?
Could be. Trying not to make it about that on here because
I can. I mean,
yeah, however, our gun culture is much different than everybody else's, and I think if this doesn't make people finally go, we need to do something, then I don't know what is going to.
I mean, you could have said that when that nut job killed 20 kindergarten kids, and a few years ago we didn't do squat then.
You're right. You're completely right. When it was the smaller kids, that's when it should have been an even bigger deal. But that's what made people even more go, oh, that was just one crazy dude. It has nothing to do with the guns, or it has nothing to do with this. And look, it's a lot of different issues. I mean, heck, we talked about video game addiction now becoming a thing that actually could be diagnosed now. There's a lot of mental, illness issues in this country that don't get the proper attention that they deserve, especially with, the stuff with the insurance going on, that being a problem. If you can't get insured, how are you supposed to get the medical attention that you need? That for one is an issue in itself, not to mention the gun problems and maybe making it stricter stuff for the guns and everything else. And video game violence is not anywhere near the top of this issue. And the people that are, for me, I feel like are the parents that just refuse to pay attention to what their kid is doing and playing and putting a restriction on that. If your kid is having side effects of playing these games that they shouldn't be playing, they're too young to understand what they're playing, and you're letting them play, that's on you, man. That's on you as a parent. If they're 10 years old and they go out and you think it's the games, maybe you need to do something about that. Stop blaming the creators. We might as well not have R-rated movies then, because
I mean, that's what these puritanical dickheads think. We just should all just read the Bible and listen to Quaker music and all that crap.
No, it's not gonna happen, people. Stop it.
My dream is, if you believe in the Second Amendment, that's cool, but you can only use period accurate weaponry. So you can only use a Brown Bess rifle. So you get 4 shots per minute, and that's about it.
Could you imagine? You could take the guy out pretty quick, though. Take him forever.
One guy, and then everyone else would swarm you and kill you.
Yeah.
Go ahead. It's fun. I was just gonna say it's interesting to think about, because I think a few years ago there was some guy in Japan who went crazy with a knife and killed a few people, some people. I don't even think he killed people. I think he just cut people.
Right.
I think he killed or cut 19 kids or something like that.
Oh.
In this country, if some guy walked into a school, even a high school, with a knife and started trying to cut people, he might cut 1 or 2 people, students, and then everyone would just gang up on him and kick the crap out of him.
Right.
So it's just interesting to see that cultural difference right there.
Yeah, because it's just different. Well, plus that's why people have to walk in with guns, right? Because knives and other things that can be easily dispossessed are not scary to our culture as opposed to others. Not saying that knives can't be dangerous, because they certainly can. Just not AR-15 dangerous, or any type of gun for that matter. I don't think that we need to do away with guns at all, because I think I saw something that was, I think, rather appropriate. Like, how many places are we every day where people have the concealed carry, and we have no idea who's armed and who's not, but nobody goes out and takes a gun out and shoots someone, right, in the store or whatever. It usually does involve, depending the situation you're in, usually being in a bad situation, dealing with, somebody's mental health, or, whatever, or being in a situation where there's aggression happening, like an argument, or, you know, it doesn't mean that that all needs to go away. Just we got to figure out something to make it harder for people to obtain these things. And again, video games have nothing to do with why this stuff is happening. Let's put
Or
the
like,
blame.
why'd that guy, a few months ago kill 500 concert goers? It wasn't because of video games.
No, it was not because of that at all. But all right, let's discuss video games here. And
Duck Hunt, the best video game ever.
yeah, we gotta remember that. Duck Hunt, early on in the console existence, out there, packaged with your system for you to buy. Rainbow Six Siege is not getting a sequel. It is going to be supported for 10 years, says the developers.
Great, I got 10 years to ignore it. Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, me too, but I think that there are a lot. This is one of those games that proves that sometimes you can have a game come out bad, and you can really try hard to fix it, and you do, and you get people. Your audience is at 27 million now. It keeps growing. You have a plan. People seem to like that plan, and now
And
go ahead.
And The Division is an example of how you can not do that.
True. I'd argue that it might be easier for Rainbow Six Siege to have made that comeback, because it's
Free to play.
less. Yeah, it's free to play, and there's less you have to do in the game too, right?
Yeah.
Like the Division, you would have had to come up with ideas for how to continue the story, how to fix more of the problems.
Yeah.
Which we talked about them possibly wanting to do Division 2, and I think the reason why they want to do Division 2 more is because they just want to get that whole idea of we screwed up with the Division out of people's heads.
Yeah, it's a clean slate. Like, it's what they do with, like, Destiny 2, but hopefully they wouldn't fuck it up like they did with Destiny 2.
You would hope they would have learned their lesson.
Because, like, I don't know if you've been following it, but, like, Destiny 2 is, like, a slow-moving disaster. Like, everything they've done has made the game arguably worse, which is kind of impressive when you really look at it.
Yeah, all I ever hear about now is people talking about how it's been just getting worse and worse, and it's not had the tail that the first one had, and every time they try to fix something, it gets even worse.
I mean, even the first one was busted for, like, the first year of the game. Like, it wasn't until they made, like, the Taken Throne, or I think, like, the second DLC pack that everyone seemed to actually like it. So it's like, holy Christ. Like,
it's like you have all this data that shows what you did correctly. How did you mess this up?
Yeah.
I don't know, Activision and Bungie. Get that right. Considering another one of where we went wrong here, System Shock Remastered, which was successfully kickstarted to a tune of 1.3 million. They are now going back to the drawing board because, quote, we got too far away from the original idea. We kept wanting to do more and more stuff, and then we realized that basically they wouldn't be making System Shock anymore, or at least not a remaster anyway.
This is baffling to me. Like, you have to make the graphics better. That's all you had to do. Like, people, because they're making System Shock 3 as it is, or like, at least they were. I mean, who knows right now? But if you wanted to like completely change the gameplay or add in like new stuff, put it in that game. It's there for you.
Yeah, I don't know. That's weird though. Like, but isn't it two different people though making the
No,
system?
I think it's the same company. I think it might be a different team, but it's the same company. Because that's, I think, another game that got kickstarted, I want to say. But it's like, what did they do with that Shadow of the Colossus remake? They put in like one or two like little hidden things, and they made the graphics better and fixed the control scheme. That's it.
Yeah, but I think that also doesn't it have a big studio making sure that it also is on track and looking good and
Oh, you are right. It is a different company that wasn't making the remake, but Night Dive was doing the remake of System Shock 1, and apparently some company called Other Side Entertainment is making System Shock 3. So it's like, if you just wanted to make your own spin on it, like, then why did you want, like, go for the remake in the first place? Have someone else do it. There are plenty of port studios out there, that'll go hire the guys who do like the Planescape Torment Enhanced Edition. They got your back.
I mean, I feel like they're not wrong in wanting to do more with it, right? Like, okay, you got all this money. Do we kind of owe it to them to see if we can innovate on what the original System Shock did to see if we can make it better?
But you're like, that's defeating the purpose of the remake, though. Like, that's just making a new game to an extent. Like, even like that, I like that. What is it? Odin Sphere remake that they made a few years ago. But that's not the same game as original Odin Sphere. Not at all. I mean, I think it's better, but there's certainly diehard fans of the old one that like. I mean, that's why they included the old one in that package in the first place.
Well, I mean, it's also it's weird because they're not even doing a remake; it's a remaster.
Yeah.
So all they're really supposed to do is just make the graphics better and
fix the graphics.
Put out the game.
Make it work on like modern computers. Make it look at least somewhat better if you can, and push it at the door. Like, I look at this as like, they talk about feature creep, and I'm like, that's what's going to kill Star Citizen.
That's just weird though. Like, if maybe they just didn't think they would get this much for the game, and so maybe they were thinking, we should have said remake instead of remaster, and they were thinking about, why don't we just do it as if we were going to do a remake, and then I don't know, maybe they're somebody else that they have to talk to, or they said they were talking to publishers, said, well, hold on, your Kickstarter says remaster, and you're trying to do too much here. Maybe you'll need to go back to the drawing board.
If honestly that is the case, they should have given some of that money back and said, this is going to be like a no-frills remaster. Like, we're going to update the graphics slightly. We're not going to make like a new game engine or anything, but here is the best it can possibly look, at least with the assets we have. Enjoy. And maybe make another Kickstarter that goes like, if you want to see us do our own spin on System Shock, pay it. And they wouldn't get any money probably. But that's the dark secret about all this, is if they say we're going to make our own game, no one would be like, who cares? Like, no one's even heard of you guys before. The only reason they got 1.3 million is because they said System Shock, and it has cachet with like old PC fans.
Yeah, it's true. Well, plus they had the idea of making the third one, right? And I think System Shock 2 you can still play on modern consoles, but not the first one.
I think it's on GOG.
Okay.
Like you can't play it. But it's not. I mean, it's going to look like the max resolution is going to be like probably 800 by 600, and it's going to look terrible on any modern computer.
Yeah, you're right. It's just, I mean, we'll see. Hopefully, it's not a long wait. I mean, sometimes these things turn into, oh, we need to reassess, go on a hiatus, and then you don't hear from them. But they're saying they're promising they will be back and doing things again. So let's hopefully be able to take them for their word and moving things
Yeah, so
along eventually.
there's already an enhanced edition of System Shock 1 on GOG and on Steam for that matter.
Then would they really be doing at that point then?
Yeah.
Oh, because this is on console too. So yeah, it would be to be able to bring the game to console.
That's a pretty gnarly looking interface for a console game.
I guess that's part of the remaster, and maybe they're gonna try to make that work.
Yeah, good luck.
Moving into more sad news. Mafia 3 developer. I mean, I don't know how much this affects people because it's been at least a year since we heard, or what, 6 or 7 months since the last DLC, and then how many people are really still out there playing Mafia 3, which sold well initially, and then kind of as every game does, peters off. But they're having
except for GTA 4, except for GTA 5, I should say.
Yeah, except for GTA 5, which doesn't matter. However long it goes, it just keeps getting bigger and bigger. The 2K basically confirming that they had to have staff reductions. They're ensuring that whatever they're doing with the studio Hangar 13 is going to line up with what they need them to do in the future. So it's always sad to hear about developers having to downsize and all that. And you'd think with a big company like this, it wouldn't happen, but it does. And as long as they're not closing the studio, I guess.
Yeah. Like, I guess it's a shame, but, I mean, I'm kind of surprised Mafia 3 sold well in the first place.
Yeah, that was surprising. Like, when that game came out, and then it was, like, big-time seller, one of the highest of the entire year, I think, when it came out.
I think it's sold well, but I don't think it reviewed that well. And I didn't hear a lot of people actually playing it. I don't know about you.
I don't remember a lot of people. I remember it getting like those like 7s and that kind of range, 8,
which is, I mean, more or less fine, but it's not like the huge blowout that were it's not like 10s across the board or anything like that.
No, I think I just can't remember what the right now it has a 68 on Metacritic for the PS4 version.
And also, like, it's like, what else is that studio doing? Like, you think they would have announced something at this point, at some point?
Yeah, it has like awards for apparently being one of the most discussed games of 2016, and obviously the higher selling game, but yeah, the highest reviews for that game are, aside from digitally downloaded, which apparently has to give every game like a huge score, is pretty much there's a bunch of 80s and then everything else is much lower. So
yeah,
with the core of people being in the 60s and 70s, so yeah, that game, I don't remember this game winning any kind of game of the year or anything like that, even though it sold well, and that happens. Like there's quite a few games that do that where it doesn't wind up being critical darling, but people love it, and they, for some reason, they buy it. It's probably also the Take-Two name and everything else being attached to that too. So.
Well, people also just like open world crime simulators. It provides a release for most normal people in life.
Yeah, very true. There's that as well, and maybe they'll put the studio into doing something else. I mean, Take-Two does have that other thing that they open for like indie devs. So I
Yeah.
mean, I don't know if they would have them just work on Red Dead, or if they'd have them just maybe think of something that they don't want to do. The ones that are left, who knows? Speaking of people making games, SWERY is making a game. Or SWERY?
SWERY.
Yeah, I'm going to go with SWERY. Uh, Hidetaka Suhiro is making his first new project. He hasn't made anything since D4,
T4.
right?
Yeah, and I think that kind of depressed him because I know
And
he
then the
announced
board
something
game.
else. He announced something else, and then I don't think it actually came through or not. But like,
With the Good People or something like that. And the
probably,
Kickstarter didn't
yeah,
take. And he's actually going to relaunch the Kickstarter now because of getting funding from Arc System Works to do this game, which is called The Missing. It apparently is going to come out this year. And he said all he pretty much he has like this 2-minute video that he does and says that it has many meanings and uh, discusses what missing someone means to various people, and then says that it's going to blow you away. So, big promises there. Sweary to tell everybody that automatically this is going to blow you away. So,
I look at SWERY as like a good designer or just a really weird one, but he just hasn't had a breakout hit. Like Deadly Premonition did well, reasonably well, but like that was a pretty underground hit.
that a lot of people didn't play until it came free to Xbox One or.
Yeah, well, it got passed around a lot. Like it came on Steam and stuff like that. But it took good reviews of from Jim Sterling and Giant Bomb doing their their endurance run of it for
And Arc
people really
System
taking
Works
it.
still hasn't proven that when they're involved in something that's not a fighting game, that it winds up being good. So they have something to prove on their end too, I think.
Yeah.
So this is one of those things that could the collab could be great, or it could be rather middling. Let's hope not, for
Right.
his sake. But see how that goes. The THQ Nordic has bought Koch Media, which THQ Nordic has slowly they bought a bunch of stuff off the actual THQ sale, and then they of course were Nordic for a while, and then they changed to THQ Nordic. They're based in Austria, and their big game is Darksiders 3, but they also have the Blobs coming to the Switch. Red Faction's been tossed around, getting put onto the either PS Plus or Games with Gold, and now there's people clamoring for a Red Faction 2. I don't know
Wait,
why,
no.
but they are.
Wait, Red
And
Faction 2?
yes, there's people that are clamoring for a sequel to the whatever the most popular one in that franchise is.
Red Faction Gorilla, because there's
Yeah,
already
Red
Red
Faction
Faction
Gorilla
2.
2. Yeah.
Because Red Faction 2 was an old PS2 game.
Right, yeah, I was like, I knew I saw several articles on various sites where they're like, okay, Red Faction, one of them has to have a sequel now because of this acquiring of Koch Media that gives them more influx of properties. This also means that THQ is once again reunited with Saints Row and Volition as well, which a lot of people feel like Koch just mishandled, uh, considering that Agents of Mayhem was a total flop. Pretty much probably dead on at that point. Of course, the Metro games as well, Dead Island, which has had its own problems. And Koch Media also makes the Kingdom Come Deliverance game that just came out last week. So,
Yeah, remember Dead Island 2?
Oh boy. We not remember that they apparently bought this for almost $150 million dollars. So, hey, cool for them. I hope this means that we'll see more games and
This is kind of a weird development.
yeah, it's like weird to see like TSQ kind of like rising out of the ashes, right?
Like the figurative zombie.
Yeah. And it not be like EA is trying to buy this, or like, that big rumor of Microsoft trying to buy like half the gaming industry, or all that. It's actually sort of refreshing to hear this kind of thing happening. Supposedly they're
Yeah,
not going to merge completely right now, but maybe later.
I guess my worry is that neither company has a great track record. So I hope someone at the top, I mean, you say they're not going to be put together, but I hope someone at the top is going, look, both studios need to be making good shit now.
Yeah, I mean, looks like they're on their way with Kingdom Come at the moment, but definitely, Darksiders 3 needs to be a huge hit because everything else has sort of been in the middle for them, and obviously Metro Exodus is going to be another one that's going to.
See, I don't think, I hope that Darksiders 3 is a good game, but
Right.
I don't think that game, it might do okay, but it's never going to be a huge hit. And the same thing with like Metro Exodus. Like that might be hopefully it's a fantastic game. But
But
that is
that's the
such,
thing with them buying it, though, as opposed to like, I don't think they're going to have the Square Enix mentality of this is going to sell 10 million copies.
no, but I also like those games are in kind of such a niche title market
Mm-hmm.
that I'd say I hope they don't expect Darksiders 3 to do like 5 million because it ain't. I mean, I know nothing about that game, but I know it's not going to do 5 million sales.
You're right, but Darksiders has a name, and if freaking Kingdom Come can be busting out the top list on Steam and all that right now, I feel like
Yeah, but
that has a chance.
the Steam best-selling list is not something you should ever know.
It's funny because their PR people are just completely. You go on Twitter, they are going nuts about it. I'm like, look, I understand. Be happy about your game, but it's
Yes, it's been out for 4 days. What happens, 2 weeks from now when?
right, and that's also very niche. Like, talk about like you're literally in medieval, and there's no fantasy element really to it much. It's very historically relevant to that, uh, and what you can do as well, and the how you fight and everything. So I don't know that, and it's huge. People like that kind of have this big 50-hour game where you can do a lot of stuff, but I still feel like it doesn't appeal to like a ton of people.
Yeah, I mean that's why I didn't. I wasn't like clamoring for it because the minute I heard like historical RPG, I was like, keep on walking. I
Yeah.
want nothing to do with you.
Plus, it had all the controversy pre-release, which people are still mad that apparently reviewers are not bending over backwards to talk about. But that goes along with everybody wants their let's all have some kind of argument about something thing that
Yeah.
goes on right now. But Yeah, hopefully this means good news for THQ. They can keep their ride going and get better and bigger, and who knows?
We can
Maybe they could
we can
fully make a return,
finally get U-Draw 2.
or get the WWE license back.
Make it finally make another All Stars 2. Everyone actually wants.
Please, that would be great. We need it here.
Also,
Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, like, all kidding aside, I hope they get Volition back on track. Like, Agents of Mayhem was such a bummer, and I realize how they left Saints Row 4 is hard to get around, but do it anyway.
Could they just take it from what happened in Get Out of Hell or whatever? I know that they technically didn't have much to do with each other, but
Who knows? I mean, that timeline's all screwed up anyway.
they do crazy stuff in that game. I guess they could make it work.
Yeah.
Probably the, I guess, bigger news of that happened earlier in the week too. Spyro getting a Trilogy remaster, and it's gonna include Spyro the Dragon, Ripto's Rage, and Year of the Dragon all together in one set that will be PS4 exclusive for a year, and then follow the same line of Crash. Probably go to the Switch and PC the year after. I mean, I like Spyro as a kid. My sister was very much into Crash, and I was much more into Spyro. So I'm kind of happy to see this happening. I think with the Skylander stuff, this has a lot more cachet to the kids, too. Do you think this could do well?
Are they gonna get Elijah Wood back to voice Spyro?
I mean, what is he doing right now?
Nothing.
Oh, is he doing that like VR game or whatever for Ubisoft?
I think so. Maybe
That weird one.
Yeah. Well, as long as they can get Elijah Wood and Gary Oldman back, I'll be happy.
They could and they could not.
Yeah.
But
I think it's. Let me check. I want to say Gary Oldman is at least 2 Spyro games, which is bizarre when you think about it.
Really, I mean, this for the. I think for the. This obviously also has the nostalgia goggles, but it doesn't have the. I don't think it's going to do as well as Crash.
He was in 3 Spyro games.
Is it all 3 of those?
No, it's the later ones that sucked.
Oh. Wow. How'd they get him for that?
Yeah, those are the ones Elijah Wood was in also. It's like, okay. I guess spending money on voice talent as opposed to good game programming and direction is one way to go.
Yeah. Very true.
Like, I got nothing against Spyro. Like, it was different from Crash because, like, at the time it was basically, I mean, it kind of was like a Mario 64 for PS1. You know, it was more bigger levels, more like like quest or goals per level, like a Mario game. I just never liked Spyro's power set at all, and like I just didn't like the character that much.
That's fair.
So
that's the what kind of I like the thing that he's a dragon, and then 2, I did like the fact that he had powers and stuff that Crash really didn't have. So that world kind of fit better to me. But yeah, this is one of those things where maybe you do have those nostalgia glasses on. You play this and it doesn't feel the same way when you start playing the remaster. I think this is cool that they're making it.
In Crash 3, you eventually get a bazooka. That's all the power you need.
Yeah. You aren't wrong. You just blow stuff off the...
I think it shot apples.
Yeah. Oh, that was it. Yeah, because you got the apples, and then he would shoot whatever ones you got. So, well, speaking of
So
shooting things, oh, go ahead.
I was just say, like, if this happens, cool. But what everyone really wants is a Blinks of Time Sweeper collection.
Oh yeah, we are all. I mean, Microsoft is interested in like really making games, so why
Well, they
not?
got nothing. If they got nothing going so far, why break that record?
I just don't see it like just happening for Microsoft. They dug themselves a hole that they're in. They
Hey
doubled
man,
down on the Game Pass thing.
eventually Crackdown 3 is going to come out in 2021, and it's going to be amazing.
Oh yeah, you know it. I mean, like that's gonna be one of the biggest things that's gonna make us look awful is if that game does come out and it's actually good, and we're sitting here just absolutely hating on it, and it's but it also may never come out. So
You say that, but I have absolutely zero faith that game will ever come out or will be any good.
yeah, I will be surprised if it comes out. Then anything beyond that, let's see what happens.
Like, as long as it doesn't actively set Xbox Ones on fire, I guess you can call that a win. But that's about it.
That could happen also. People just so frustrated with the game, like, oh, I hate you. All right, you blew up in my system. You're so awful. Thanks.
Guess. Oh, the main developer for Crackdown 3 is Sumo Digital. Guess what other game they're working on supposedly? Dead
Who's
Island
that?
2.
Oh boy.
So
Yep.
those games will come out at the same time.
Games that we just have so much faith in at this point. Speaking of blowing things up, the series that is most known for that, Call of Duty, the movie is still going on, and they've apparently found their director. The director of Sicario 2 Soldado, which is Sicario 2 Soldier, Stefano Solima is apparently in talks to direct the movie. I guess it's refreshing that they're not going after some big Hollywood director for this. Probably also saves them money. And because they're gonna have to spend a lot of money on the special effects and everything else for this movie to make it look like the game, which that's going to be one of the things people are really going to be looking for this kind of movie.
You know how you make it look like the game? Make it a VR movie where you just have a gun for 2 hours, like that Hardcore Henry thing.
Like that one part of Doom at the end.
Yeah, also that.
I mean, I don't know what they. I guess they could make a Call of Duty story just for a movie, right? And that's your movie.
I imagine if they're serious, they're probably just gonna tell the story of like Call of Duty 4, the first Modern Warfare, because that's the most relatively grounded like Call of Duty story you have, and it's not like near futuristic. It's present day, or it's like 2 years from now, essentially. Like there's nothing like futuristic in that game aside from maybe some of the rocket launchers, but that's about it.
Yeah, I think that would probably be your best choice to go with the more grounded one. You don't want to go with like crazy out there Black Ops or.
Yeah, they're not gonna make like American or Advanced Warfare.
Yeah,
especially not Kevin Spacey anymore.
Oh yeah. I'm surprised that nobody's called to like remove Kevin Spacey from Advanced Warfare or something.
Yeah, he's too embedded in, like they couldn't do that, but yeah.
It would be a completely different game. He's like way into that story.
Well, he's like the bad guy. Yeah, he's not going to spend millions of dollars and replace him.
Like I mean, I want to see. Even if this movie's good, like I don't know that I would really say, oh, Call of Duty made it to where there's now good video game movies. Like
no, because
it's
like
a war movie, right? I mean,
Yeah, like that's the thing. There's nothing fantastical about Call of Duty. It's as long as they don't fuck it up, make it look like terrible. They could get any. I mean, I know nothing about this director, so who knows? But they could get anyone to direct this thing and probably be fine.
Yeah, I mean, literally, there's war movies like every year. They come out consistently. This isn't like too out of the realm for somebody to do. I mean,
like if you're gonna make like a weird video game movie, try like making like Final Fantasy 15 or something. Like with a bunch of like monsters running around and like crazy shit like that. Like that'd be more impressive.
I mean, you already have Rampage, so
yeah.
It's
that's gonna be a big winner. I can tell you
The
that.
Rock will somehow make that good. I don't know how, but he will because he's in it.
Well, the premise is like all like the monsters are growing, so I imagine at the end of the movie, like the Rock takes the formula and grows to like 800 feet tall and like starts wrestling all of them. If that's the way that movie ends, yeah, if that's the way that movie ends, I will go see it. If not, no way.
It's like rock bottom on the
on the him and the gorilla had to team up against like that lizard looking thing.
Yeah, exactly. There you go.
Rock and Stock Connection Part 2.
Rock and gorilla going at it. Yeah. This guy is known for a soldier movie, so perhaps Stefano can step it up.
I mean, I imagine if he was still alive, they'd probably would have tried to get Tony Scott for it, but he's not around anymore, and Ridley Scott's insane, so they're not going to get him.
So apparently, once again, the rumors abound about Sony and the changing your PSN name thing.
Yeah.
Something that's is apparently so difficult for them in their system. Basically, they don't want to possibly cause another PSN hack, which I can sort of understand. There's a survey saying that they have been exploring the possibility of adding this feature. Microsoft lets you do this. You can do it once for free, and then the rest of them you have to pay. Sony still has not allowed you to do this at all. Do you think it happens finally? Or is this just another rumor?
It'd be nice, but you have to imagine, like you said, there has to be some very hard technical problem that's like preventing it from happening. But I guess the rumors are like, if they do let it happen, like Sony would let you do it free every 6 months, like one free one. But I guess it would lock out like your previous account name.
That makes sense, I guess. So you couldn't just go back to that.
Yeah.
As long as you keep your stuff.
Yeah.
It's not a big deal.
Yeah, I think like considering how messy PSN was on PS3, like that is one thing that like when the PS4 came out, they should have had a clean break from PSN or the PS3 architecture and go, here's here's the new stuff. Sorry, nothing transferred over. Pick your new name. We're going to actually have good online download speeds for you. It's going to work. And they didn't do it because they had to have that like continuation, and that's screwing them up majorly.
Yeah, you would have thought they would have done that at least, just especially if you're not going to have any of the games transfer or anything like that. Like why not just make that clean break, start with something new? But they didn't, and now I'm guessing they wouldn't make this work on PS3. It would just be
PS4 only. But honestly, how many people are still going on PS3? Like I know there's some, but I mean most people have moved on. Like the PS4, the PS4 has been out for now 4 years. Same with Xbox One.
Yeah, I mean you're not really
like when aside if you take away movies or like Netflix, when was the last time you turned on your PS3 to play a game?
Never. I turn it on for that. And if there's a PS3 game for PS Plus that I really want, and that's it. I don't like. I probably should play the Trails of Cold Steel games or whatever, but I'm also not gonna be downstairs playing a game. It's also like probably out of inconvenience, or I might use it, but it'd be very rare the times that I would. So most people like there's probably a very small amount that is their main gaming console at this point.
Yeah.
Like
Also, the PS4 and Xbox One have been on for 5 years, not 4. So.
Yep, even bigger reason. Yeah, so at that point, I don't know. I just feel like if Sony's made people wait this long, why not just wait till the PS5
Yeah.
to let people do it? Like, does it really matter if this, even though, Nintendo says they're trying to make the console, at least their console, go beyond the 5 or 6 years, but the Switch can do whatever it wants and it doesn't have to go on with whatever Microsoft and Sony
No,
are doing. But
Nintendo said that, but I imagine the Switch, like in a few years, gonna have like the Switch XL or something like that, where it's like here's maybe like a thinner version of the Switch that's slightly bigger and has like a better processor. Because that's what they do.
right, you run that same problem of better make
No one
sure
get.
that the games all work on all the systems.
Yeah.
I mean that we already went through this with. I've talked about it countless times. I have one of the only of two games that, and the other one is pointless now because Hyrule Warriors is about to come on the Switch. The only reason to own a Nintendo 3DS XL is if you wanted Xenoblade Chronicles on it. That is the only exclusive game that you cannot play on the 2DS and whatever. As long as they don't do something like that, I'm good.
Wasn't it like Xenoblade did okay? Xenoblade, Hyrule, and like Kid Icarus, and that was it?
Yeah, like Hyrule Warriors plays a heck of a lot better on that system than the regular, but it's still, it's not really meant for 3DS either,
Yeah.
But yeah, you're right. Nintendo could do that, and they probably will. I wouldn't be surprised if it's even a Nintendo Switch 2 or something.
I don't
But
think it'll be a 2. It'll just be like, here's the improved, Switch, or like
yeah,
something like that. Because they can't come out with like a 2 because everyone who got the first Switch will be like, what the fuck?
right. It's
Or the Switch
yeah.
Lite or something like that,
I just can't imagine there's too many years left with what Sony and Microsoft are doing, especially now that you've made those mid-gen consoles and everything.
Yeah.
So why not just let people wait? It's not gonna hurt anyone at this point. You've gone this long with that name. I mean, if you're worried about somebody seeing it and it causing a problem for you, then don't let them see it. I don't know. Mega Man Legacy 1 and 2. It's been pretty much a known thing that it was going to come to the Switch. It's coming May 22nd, and it's going to have a challenge mode, remix stages, and online leaderboards coming to basically just special things coming on the Switch. It's also going to have a sound mode where you can have this, listen to soundtracks and look at your collection. You can use amiibos with it too, as you would expect. And you can buy the first one for $15 and the second one for $20, or you can buy them all together for $40.
And you get a deluxe 30th anniversary cleaning cloth.
God, some great thing you're giving away there, Capcom, but I mean,
This
it's nice that you can get them together, right?
this thing should be $20.
I agree with you. But I mean, I also don't think that like $20 for each thing is totally unfair.
Well, the first one launched at 15. I mean, you can get it for 15 digitally, but still, like that's too much.
It's kind of like the way they did Bayonetta 1 and 2, right? Bayonetta 2, I think, is 39, or are they both 29? And then you get the other one for $10. I think it is. Not sure, but it equals out to both of them being 40, or it might be equals out to both of them being 50. I don't really remember, but either way, those games are very much worth the $50, considering the graphical stuff that you have to do for those games is much different than Mega Man.
So apparently, PSN doesn't have like region pricing enabled correctly, so you can get a copy of that Kingdom Come Deliverance game for like 5 cents.
What? On the US PS4 store?
No,
Or,
on the Russian store.
Ah,
But it's in
well,
English.
the Russian store, they have a history, which you know of very well, for
Yeah.
Steam. If you could still do that, the amazing things you could accomplish with the Russian Steam.
Yeah.
But they killed those damn
Bastards.
Valve.
Yeah.
I don't blame them, but yeah, they killed it. The new Remedy game has a code name, P7. Comes out in 2019. It's a cinematic third-person action game. What do you know? That's kind of what Remedy makes. And it will have game mechanics with storytelling techniques, and will have longer-lasting game experiences, as everybody's trying to push towards at this point. Feels like another Remedy game is coming.
I hope that it's good. Like, they've been kind of in a slump the past few years.
Yeah, Quantum Break was.
Yeah. Even like I liked Alan Wake's American Nightmare, but you could tell it was like a stopgap game.
Mm-hmm. It really felt like it was sort of like in today's world could have been the expansion or like standalone DLC that you buy for like $20.
Yeah, I think it launched at 15 because it was supposed to be DLC. I mean, Alan Wake had DLC, but it was two short episodes. So
Yeah,
I guess we'll
I really
see.
liked both those. I liked the American Nightmare
I think
a
people
lot.
want more Alan Wake. Like when Quantum Break
Mm-hmm.
was announced and then released, it's like, why did you make this? Like no one was really clamoring for it.
They weren't, but Microsoft wanted it because they wanted a big exclusive, and then they tried to add the TV show part to it, and
They pulled the
totally
plug
just.
on that like halfway through, so that's why it was like such a weird misfire.
I just hopefully
Like
I
I like
trust that.
Remedy. Like that's the thing is, gotta love Sam Lake, but it's like get back on track, people. Make the
I
real
think
Max Payne 3.
without being now that they're out of the shadows that they had to be in before, I think they know what they want to do and they'll be good with that. I mean, I think you can trust them right now.
Yeah.
But
Like I was saying, they should make the real Max Payne 3, the good one.
would Rockstar let them have the license though?
No, which is weird because not like Rockstar's doing anything with it.
Probably because they don't trust themselves to make it without Remedy, even though the first two keep getting like 4K and all this other stuff, so the care is still out there for them.
Yeah.
Weird. Black Panther, of course, came out last week. You saw it.
Yep.
What did you think of
Good.
Black Panther?
I was surprised. Like, me and my friends saw it. The theater was sold out, like, packed. And that's like the first time that's happened in that theater for me and him.
So obviously trying to avoid it's still early enough where you get the people with the spoilers, but so do you think it like lives up to all the hype and everything?
I think it might be a tad overhyped. Like, the best reviewed movie ever, or whatever, headlines like that. Like, I think it's probably pretty on par with, like, the first Guardians movie, or maybe, like, Thor Ragnarok, in terms of, like, just overall quality.
That's not still pretty good though.
Like, I might personally say that the best Marvel movies is still probably Winter Soldier. That's me.
I love that movie. I mean, I also think after I'd just seen Wonder Woman recently, I thought that was kind of in the higher tier of. I know it's not Marvel, but higher tier superhero movies.
Don't worry, it'll be Marvel eventually.
God, that will be the day if that
Once Disney
happens.
just buys WB.
Like, just all right. There is no more DC versus Marvel. Disney just owns everything.
No, we'll be DC versus Marvel. Here's a new event.
Yeah, it'll be Disney doing the WWE thing. We're gonna manufacture Disney versus Marvel, DC versus Marvel now.
Yeah. Have fun with Kingdom Hearts. Kingdom Hearts 8, Part 8 now.
Yeah, had them all in there. It's battling. It'll be Sora with doing the comics war.
Yeah. Sora with Wolverine and Superman as his buddies.
That would be something to see, certainly. The Black Panther did, of course, break some records. There's huge hype with that movie. Seemingly well deserved. The fifth highest opening weekend box office for any film domestically released. Also becoming the fifth film to ever debut with over 200 million in its opening weekend, which is pretty great. It's the only films right now that are beating it in the 4-day window that it had are the Star Wars movies. So that is pretty great at this point for Black Panther. I don't know how much it's going to drop. You'd imagine it maybe has a bigger drop than, say, like, the Avengers films or something like that would, but
I don't know. Like, I got a feeling it's going to stick around for a while because there's nothing really coming out until like late in March that will kind of counter it. So I think it'll be around.
yeah, I would agree with you on that front that it'll be around. Just
Like
will be interesting.
The only two movies that are coming out in March that'll kind of, I think, really go against it is Pacific Rim 2 and Ready Player One.
I can see Ready Player One doing more than Pacific Rim 2. We'll see how that goes. I really hope Pacific Rim 2 does well because I want them to keep that going.
But then keep that fucking Cloverfield movie, franchise going. Pacific Rim 2 deserves some love.
Yeah, come on, Netflix. If anything, like Pacific Rim is right up your alley as far as.
Or just have like Gypsy Danger versus Cloverfield Monster.
Like, come on, like y'all are freaking funding another Bright movie. Like, if this one does decently well and they just decide they don't want to continue it, it's one of those things. Come on, Netflix, let's do it. I think Black Panther will be fine. Ultimately, it's also a Marvel movie. I think it also has a huge critical acclaim, which is different than Star Wars, which like after like the first week, everybody decided that they started hating it. So it dropped considerably. Whereas this movie, everybody freaking loves it. There's obviously the jokes online of people just being like, okay, this is a movie, stop making it feel like it's a cultural event, even though it is for a lot of people. And I think that's what's cool about this, is it finally makes you feel like, Black Panther is getting his due, along with Africa and everything else in movies like that. You don't see that very often, so it's very cool they kept it authentic. And Ryan Coogler is getting a lot of press for the movie as well, so much so that Kevin Feige is already saying he wants him back for the inevitable sequel.
Yeah, and I'm glad to do it, because that's what they do. Like, they get a director, like a lesser known director. No offense to him, but uh, and like if he does well, they incorporate him into the studio structure. Like James Gunn, perfect example. Like he made some movies beforehand, but none of them were like box office hits or anything like that. They all reviewed pretty well, but I mean before Guardians came out, like most people don't know James Gunn at all.
Like, I think the only thing Disney has to worry about, though, is if James Gunn ever gets a big head, which it doesn't seem like he is. I think he seems like a very grounded person, and he takes to heart the Guardians sort of being his or whatever, is that feeling of, can we make a Guardians movie without James Gunn? Could
Well, I
Black
think
Panther become that with Ryan Coogler?
I mean maybe, but I think I think when they do this, like the actors have loyalty to that director then.
Mm-hmm.
Like if Disney was like, we're gonna fire James Gunn, it's like, I mean, you may get a Guardians 3, but it's not gonna have that, the heart, the writing or anything like
The
that. That the first,
music or it won't have
yeah.
any of that. 'Cause one of the things I think that's so appealing about James Gunn is like how much he really thinks about all that stuff that goes into that movie, or into both movies.
Well,
And
that, and also one thing I like about him is he's incredibly loyal to people.
yeah,
Like I think both Guardians movies had like cameos from Lloyd Kaufman in it, because like Kaufman was like the first guy who gave him a job,
right.
which is cool.
Yeah,
The only thing,
he.
go on.
Go ahead. Oh, I was just saying
Okay.
he just treats his characters well in the movies too. It's they all have their moment, and just like I don't think I've seen somebody that really takes the. He brought back the whole thing, really caring about a movie soundtrack, you know, and all that nobody really seemed to like pay much attention to until those movies, and uh, how it looks, the story that gets told, all that.
Yeah. So the funniest thing to me, I guess, will be once Black Panther bypass or blows past Justice League in terms of box office.
That has been the joke. And then, of course, everybody has to come out and be like, why you always got to make it about Marvel vs. DC? It's like, okay, when you're having what would you call that? Not even secondary, a third tier
I'd call him
character?
like B tier, maybe C tier character. Like he's not like a Spider-Man. Let's say that.
Right, right. Uh, Third tier character is now passing your huge movie. That means something of how low on the totem pole you have gotten your movies. Like you nailed one, and the rest of them have just not even gotten close.
Yeah.
You mentioned Marvel though. Sony, I'm sure they are kicking themselves in the pants and everywhere else they possibly can at this point. Interesting that this would even come out. Like you'd think, oh, well, it's coming out because of a book, I guess. Interesting this didn't come out earlier. I guess would be the case. Is that in 1998, when Sony Pictures was not, getting the big cast, they didn't have the big name. They're trying to get the screen rights to Spider-Man. They already have DVD rights. And, Marvel's coming out of bankruptcy. They need money. And their new chief offers Sony, you can basically have everybody: Iron Man, Thor, Ant-Man, Black Panther, probably Captain America, for 25 million. And they go, nobody cares about all those characters. Go back and only get Spider-Man.
Yep. Good call. That's what you
Like,
call some forward thinking.
I mean, to be fair, they did make a lot of bad Spider-Man movies too. Or I don't know if they're bad. There's not. I don't think the Amazing Spider-Man movies are terrible.
No, but that was before like Sam Raimi stuff. I mean, that was after Sam Raimi stuff. Like,
But I don't think he would have stayed on to do these other characters, right? You would have had the different directors at that point.
yeah,
I also don't think like Sony could have had the image for that. Like I don't think they would have been not just forward thinking about that, but like I don't think they could have thought about expanding the studio like that of okay, let's have a movie for each one of these characters and let's tie it all in and whatever. Like it was hard enough for them to focus on Spider-Man.
well, think about it this way: the two biggest. I mean, this is 1998 or 1999.
Right.
The two biggest superhero films were Spawn in '97 and Blade in '98. So Sony, I mean, at the time, Sony was probably correct in saying, this is going nowhere. Like this, who cares?
Right.
I mean, now they sell their souls to get half the Marvel roster if they could. I mean, they're desperately clinging on to Spider-Man because it's their only life raft.
Yeah, because I imagine Disney may not have had an interest in buying Marvel at all if they weren't gonna get most of the roster for the movies.
Yeah,
So
like they're making that stupid Venom movie with the worst trailer ever, and
yeah, let's not show Venom at all in the
they're
trailer.
making that's like Silver Sable Black Cat movie that no one cares about, and they
talk about
they've
like
talked.
going really niche. Like, are there really that many Silver Sable and Black Cat fans?
No, but it's two women, so they think they have I think that's their market as opposed to actually having good characters.
Like at this point, like DC has a better shot with that female group up movie than they do with this thing.
I'd say the best shot is Marvel. They've
Oh
been
well,
talking about
yeah.
finally doing Black Widow or having like a whole female movie.
Which I think one of the actresses in Black Panther answered that question or had that brought up about what if they did. I mean, they could, like, right? They could do Black Widow and, oh, dang it, Zoe Saldana's character from
Gamora,
Gamora and,
Nebula. They could have a lot of the characters, but
yeah.
just have a 2-hour movie with all the female characters and make it a Marvel swimsuit special like they did back in the mid '90s.
God, if you want Flame War
That'd be
2000 whatever.
that would be hysterical.
Could you imagine? Like, I think you would have people being like, "Oh, well, I'm not watching a Marvel movie ever again. Thank you for doing that." That'd be awful.
Even at the time, I think I got like one or two of those comics. Even at the time, I'm like, this is weird. Like this is a level of strange that I'm not comfortable with.
Like, yeah, this is. I mean, like DOA didn't even do that really.
Yeah.
So then you're having Marvel doing it's kind of like, what? Okay. Whatever works for you guys there. Speaking of what is going on, there's apparently a new Willy Wonka movie being rumored. From the Paddington director Paul King may do it, so it actually might be good because both the Paddington movies are damn good movies on their own. It's been a while. It's been it'll be 13 years since the Johnny Depp one. So
Probably.
I think that's long enough.
I hope they're
And
going to get him
it's a
back, though.
prequel apparently to that.
They need to get Johnny Depp back because he was a linchpin of that movie.
Oh God, no. Go worry about your dogs or whatever's going on with you right now, Johnny. just, just don't. I like. I think it's interesting to have a prequel to Willy Wonka. I never thought about it, but would you want to?
I guess Willy Wonka is fine enough, and I know like there is some backstory with Willy Wonka, like that the main Wonka movie didn't touch on because it's weird.
Yeah.
But I don't like. I don't think that concept quite works anymore, and I don't care about like Willy Wonka's past.
Yeah, like I just think about him being magical in that moment, like the Gene Wilder and the original and the music and all that stuff. I don't really think about I want to know what happened to him before then.
Yeah.
But I guess you can make a movie about it because you can. Same way you can make a movie about Five Nights at Freddy's for some reason. I guess because horror films are well, never mind. Thinking about the way that horror films still do pretty well at the box office, why not? The creator might shut you down, but I guess as long as you're doing whatever he wants, then you're good. Because didn't he shut down another studio doing a movie on him before?
Probably, but that's only because he probably wasn't getting paid enough.
But Blumhouse does have uh, some history with horror films, so perhaps this might be more in their wheelhouse here. I haven't played the game, so I'd just be watching it for it being a horror movie. But what do you have any kind of care about the fact that Five Nights at Freddy's has a director, Chris Columbus, and
I
who
think
he made
I
some of the
think
Harry
that
Potter movies. So
yeah, he also did Home Alone.
yeah,
I think that premise has some merit actually. Like, a guy or girl, who knows, trapped in like a Chuck E. Cheese late at night, and the monster, the robots are coming after him. I guess it has possibilities, but I'm just not quite sure how you stretch it out in like a 2-hour movie. And also, like I guess another problem is just like that we all, like most gamers know that's the gist of the story. Like, there's no surprise there.
I guess it's on them to expand it or whatever for the movie, but it could work. That series has its fans. Uh, just and if they make it into a premise that works, like you said, it could do well. Just let's see if it even gets made first. That's the important part, I think, in all this. And with that, I think we're just gonna move on to talking about games that are coming out, starting right now with Metal Gear Survive, which you can get right now on PS4, PC, and Xbox One. Uh, all I ever see when Konami announces anything about this game is how much people just loathe the fact that it has the Metal Gear name on it. What do you
Well,
think
it's
it?
a double. I think it's a double-edged sword. Like, if it didn't have that name, people wouldn't care. But
Right.
the only way it's getting made is because it has that name.
Do you think it sells well?
I really think it depends on reviews. Like more so than most games, or like how deep that single player is going to be. If there's going to be any story at all, or if it's just going to be survival game.
Yeah, I mean, do we even know if if the story mode is not just what you do in multiplayer, but with AI helping you?
No, because I think you're alone,
Okay. Well, I mean that.
and it's not like this. The difference is like what you do online. That's tower defense essentially, or
Right.
depending against the drill. Like survive is more you stake out like a base and like you grow crops and hunt food and like it's actually a survival game. But I just don't. I mean, you have to like forage for supplies and gear and stuff. But I just don't know how deep that's going to be or how involving it's going to be.
I would say if you can, if you're like Mark and I'd say be smart and and wait till, I'd say noon or a little later in the day on February 20th and see what those reviews are saying. Uh, I don't, even though it is $40, it's $20 cheaper than what you pay normally.
Yeah,
I just say be careful.
I mean that helps.
If it's not your kind of game when you played the beta or whatever, but you were kind of thinking about it, or it was your kind of game, even with that, I'd say wait. It's not a game that you want to jump out and, because it is $40 that you then don't get all of it back when you're trying to trade it in or whatnot. A game that apparently is not doing well already, Age of Empires Definitive Edition, not doing that great as a remaster on the PC.
I started reviewing it. Got an okay score.
It's at 73 right now on Metacritic. I don't know how many that reviews that's taking in though. It could be like 3 or 4, and then of course it does that average. I did see a couple of people from bigger sites talking about some of the problems it has. That maybe it's like a case with Secret of Mana where you're remembering things the wrong way, and it was always had some issues.
Yeah.
Some other games here. It has apparently 20 reviews right now. There are some. Gotta love when you go to a site just to check something and they have to have a stupid ad that talks. You may not have heard that, and it's been me and Mark talking about it. But so aside from that, you got Apex Construct, which is a PSVR game. It's in first person, and you're like a robot. And I just saw the robot shooting arrows and stuff at various things. The station also comes out. You get the Injustice TMNT DLC.
Yeah, I already played that.
So how did the turtles?
The way you change between turtles is really batshit because you have to go in like the character customize option and like change their weapons. And the turtles do have different moves. So like they have some of the same moves. Like there's this like Kano cannonball looking thing that they all have, but like Leonardo's like his special move is like calling in other turtles for like special attacks. And like Donatello's he throws like a device out that can like trap enemies for a few seconds. That's about it. They all have the same super move, and it's kind of a neat idea. But they should just have an option on the game menu that says like, "Who do you want to play as?"
Yeah, they should. Don't they have that like when you go online? Though?
I think there's like the champion mode or something that might have it because that doesn't take gear into account at all. So you have to have that. But
okay.
Like that, I mean, I know why they didn't do that because like their roster is incredibly bloated looking. So if you had 4 more slots instead of 1, you'd go crazy. But when you pick it, you should just go like, okay, now which turtle do you want to play as?
Yeah, make it a lot easier that way for people, because some people may not be able to figure that out on their own, and then they're going, man, I only can play as Leonardo or whatever. It makes them upset they can't play as their favorite turtle. But hopefully they'll just be smart, go online and see that's what you do.
We all know everyone's favorite turtle is Venus de Milo.
Exactly. Mine's always been Mikey, for the record. So, as a kid, I always thought he was like the funniest.
I always liked Raph, but I recognize that he always sucks in games.
I don't know why they do that. He's like the coolest one.
Yeah, short range.
Yeah, true.
Like in games, it's actually probably Donatello's probably the best one.
Yeah, Donatello was always the best because you could just whack people with the staff. Deadbolt, which is like a Hotline Miami clone, except that you can, you're like the Grim Reaper, and you can kill them with all sorts of weapons. And there's the levels, or you can go up and down. It's not just going around in an area and going through doors. There are doors, but not necessarily what you do. Rad Rogers, I think it's a remaster of an old game, if I'm not mistaken. This is the one game I didn't look up what it is before I put it on here. I keep seeing it it's on that terminal service that where you have to like request a code and they're all there and they just either send you something or they don't.
Yeah.
So I keep seeing it, but I forget. I know it's like a puzzle platformer based on something from old time, but Yume Nikki, which is also based on an older game. I think this is the sequel. Dream Diary comes out on PC February 23rd. Payday 2 finally comes to the Switch. If you've been eagerly anticipating that on the Switch, there you go. Sword Art Online Fatal Bullet, it's PS4 only. Comes out on the 23rd. Is the shoot 'em up, like a third-person shooter version of Sword Art Online. And if you order the Day 1 edition, you get some of the characters from the first series. And Pascure, which is an indie version of like Heavy Rain, Alan Wake, that kind of thing. So if you're into those kind of games that have like the story, but also have like stealth and action and whatnot, that could go right up your boat for that as well. And not too far after that, you have the Yakuza 6 demo showing up, and Where the Water Tastes Like Wine, it also comes out. And
you forgot that big Switch game in a few days. Payday 2.
Oh, God.
The game that can barely work on a PS4 and Xbox One is coming
I
to the
want to
Switch.
see how that's gonna work on the Switch. I mean, hopefully it plays well with it's been hyped very much by Nintendo, so let's hope that it works for their sake. Anyway, and yeah, that's your week in video games coming up. Kind of just waiting for more things. I mean, of course, Far Cry was supposed to come out in a week, but now it's a month from now. So, but all right, yeah, I think that'll do it until we are here once again next week. We'll see you later.
Yep. Later.
The following podcast is a W2M Network original production. Visit W2Mnet.com for all of our other great podcasts, plus news, reviews, articles, and opinions from the worlds of wrestling, video games, football, and entertainment.